Like, I want us to be a coaching gym versus a training gym, meaning if you come to us, what is the best way for us to meet you where you're at and give you the highest likelihood of getting exactly what you want? In order to do that, right, you and I need to be doing things like qualifying if we're even the right people to be doing that. Some people literally need medical intervention, like, hey, like, or a dietitian, or like, I can't help you, right? Like, this is beyond my scope. Mental health experts, things like that. Then we need to like have a consultation. Like, okay, if I believe I can help you, what is the best way to help you? And that has to be a conversation, because sometimes it's not as simple as like, well, I want to lose weight. Well, everyone wants to lose weight, right? Like, but let's go a couple layers deeper and figure out what's preventing you from being able to do that on your own. And how do I create a solution for you that will give you exactly what you want, to your point, least effective dose and best return on your time and money.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
You and I have probably worked with people that have spent thousands of dollars on a large group membership and never used it or came, versus the person that spent thousands of dollars in 3 months but got life-changing results with us. Very different, right?
Very different.
So how do we create how do we create probable outcomes, not possible outcomes for people? Do you want to speak a little bit about some of the different types of clients that you've had the privilege of training at District H, and where your mind went with in terms of like, what's the right solution for these people in time? Because I think it's going to give listeners a better understanding of like, oh, I didn't know District H could solve those types of problems, or I didn't know that I could walk in and be able to be catered to in that way. So like, let's just start with like, maybe your most interesting case, like in a one-on-one environment. What are some of the problems you've had to solve, and why was that the best solution for them at the time?
Another really good question. So, you know, I could talk about Brad all the time, because he's just like a case study in like, how can we work really well with a specific person? But we'll even step back and talk about like Michael Shopoff.
Yeah.
He is another great client where he was in large group for who knows how long. And he started getting some foot pain that was derived from a nerve impingement. And I can't remember, it's called like CRPS, chronic regional pain syndrome. Very, very niche problem that there's really no answers to. And you and him came to an agreement, and I started working with him. And he's one of those people where it's like, squatting's not the best answer for him. And yes, we want people to squat. It's like one of those 7 primal movement patterns. But for him, any sort of squatting caused a ton of pain in his foot that could possibly cause him pain for days after. And that's just not productive use of his time. So instead, we did single leg Bulgarian split squats, which everybody and their mother hates. But for him, it was literally the only solution we could possibly get. And I had to completely change training styles, because I normally standardize my warm-ups and standardize a lot of movement patterns where it's like, we're going to squat today, or we're going to bench press today. And moving through those problems, you have to find solutions for a specific person. Michael is one of those individuals where the normal standardized solutions I would come up with were just not going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like someone like Michael that had a very specific problem you're trying to solve, like specific problems require specific interventions, right?
Correct.
And so, and plus on top of that, like you guys had to work in a very controlled environment. You're controlling all the variables of that session, right? Not to say like someone like Michael doesn't have the ability to be successful in large group again, just in that season of life, we had to pull a different tool out of the toolbox.
100%.
So now what I have learned over time with District H2 is like, we were getting a lot of those people knocking on our door. Like first they all went to Dustin, and then thank God you reached out to me and I said, cool, I can give it to Chris now, because Chris has the skill set to do this. But like, what about like, okay, once we've solved that problem and we get them back to like building capacity, then my mind went to like, okay, like, they don't necessarily need one-on-one intervention anymore. They could be successful in a small group setting, or even going straight into a large group setting. So I think about Gus, or even what's a couple other clients that you worked with that
Went to semi-private.
started out one-on-one and then went to semi-private?
So Gus went to semi-private, or was one-on-one, went to semi-private. Jessica Feinstein was also OG one-on-one, went to semi-private. Those two didn't necessarily have specific problems. It was just, I need to work with someone to gain some confidence back and then step it up, because for either financial reasons or whatever, they're just like, I can't continue with the one-on-one.
Right.
And then perfect timing when you came up with the idea for semi-private to then push them in that direction, because it solved not only one of those kind of barriers for some people, a financial need, but also increasing their amount of times in the gym, because there is kind of that point of diminishing return. And Jessica and Gus were prime candidates to go to semi-private because they don't need to have me hold their hand. They just need to have a little bit of autonomy while being in the constraints of having a coach watch them.
But it's amazing, like you also brought up, like there wasn't a specific problem they had to solve, but it's also equally important that put them in an environment where there's high accountability, they're learning how to do things the right way.